Flukes, 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 flukes. Why do I have so much flukes? I'll tell you why. Okay, so if you haven't noticed, in a lot of our videos we use flukes, and one of the main reasons for flukes is they just happen to work. They work very, very well. If you've ever seen the 24/7 Outdoor Addiction, the Sooner Discharge, I think the title is called Awesome Fishing Trip. That trip, I'd say about 80% of the fish were caught on flukes and a couple of sluggos. I just wanted a couple of you guys to see different flukes that are available, and these are some of the ones that are our favorites. And this whole pack here, this whole thing here, is what I usually carry in my loadout when I go fishing. I carry all of these because you never know which day the fish will bite, which color, which different sizes. As you can see in my hands, I have different sizes here, different colors. I know there's a couple more other colors out there, but these have been the most popular ones for stripers and hybrids, and the bigger sand basses that can hit these. Excuse me. But these, from what I can tell you, man, I used to never like to fish flukes, but after a while, it's always been just flukes. The video we just uploaded, Keystone Dam striper fishing. Most of the damage on the fish that was caused by this fluke is the white with the chartreuse tail. I think this is the 5-inch, and there's a couple of 4 inches, and there's a, yeah, these are definitely 4 inches. Flukes on the table. During the Sooner Lake video, I was fishing this one. I think this is called the where is it at? This is called the bait fish color. If you look at it really, really close, it looks like it's got like a white bottom and a black top, and it's got the random size glitters in it. All right, so that one's called the bait fish, and then these are the white ices. These are always hot items, and this is just white with a chartreuse tail. And springtime striper runs, oh man, hybrids, Skiatook Lake, just about any striper or hybrid fish is going to hit this. I know pickerels, pikes, things like that, they'll hit this too. And this is a soft plastic lure, and it is relatively cheap if you buy it from Walmart. I believe they were $3.50 for a pack of 10, and it doesn't matter what size they are. Each pack from the Zoom company, of course, it comes in a really nice sealed bag. And try to keep them in the bag. Don't try to mix them up, because I made that mistake one time, and flukes were everywhere. So yeah, today's review is going to be on the flukes, if you haven't already figured out. And it is a favorite lure amongst the Asian people. Big time favorite at any dam you might go to. Especially the spring season when the fish are spawning. For some reason, these little guys, these little flukes, they're the best ones out there. And I'm just going to teach you guys a little bit on how we fish them and how we fish them and what we do to rig them up. Depending on what size of fish you're going to go with will really dictate, and one of the good things about these flukes is it's a very versatile bait depending on how you hook it up and depending on how you want to fish it. You can fish it subsurface, you can fish it middle water column, you can fish it right off the ground. I don't have one of the actual setups. I have 3 or 4 here, and this is usually what I usually go. This is like the cheaper route out of things. This is the Gamatsu premium oversized round hooks. This is the 1/4 ounce. They can offer, actually they go all the way up to, from 1/8 all the way up to the 1/2 ounce. I think I've even seen a 1 ounce. And these go for about $4. It's a pack of 5. And the way you rig them up is, I'll just show you guys really quick here. The cool thing about these jig heads is it's good enough for the small size. So the small size will go right here just like that. Actually, I rig it this way. Just like that, right? Just like that. So it's good enough for the smaller size, and it's not too small for the big size. So, okay. So it'll rig up just like that. So it's still good on the bigger sizes. Now they also come in the super flukes, which is I think this is a 6-inch. I believe it's a 6-inch. I'll measure it and then I'll tell you if I get it wrong. And the super flukes are, I believe, 8. And we've caught that too. We've used that to catch a couple stripers. In the intro video with Hybrid Killer holding up big striper, not big, average size striper, that was on the super fluke, and I believe that was the 8-inch. So that's one way to rig them. And there's 3 different ways to fish them. Okay, so you either have, well, let me just show you how to rig them. Okay, so this is the small fluke. The easiest way to do this is just to hold it up like that. And you want to come, well, actually, depending on the jig head, I've already ran this a lot, ran this idea away, I ran this idea on my other jig video. But just to show you guys again, the jig head, depending on which side the barb is on, you want to put more meat or more material on that side of the barb. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, I'll show you. So if it's like this, the barb is going to be on the top of the fish. So you actually want to go a little bit. If you see, like, that's what I'm saying right here. You don't want to go right down the middle. You want to go a little bit off to the side. So the way I hook that is, I go a little bit off to the side. Let me guys see that. So you go a little bit off to the side. A little bit off to the side like that. A little off to the side. Just go straight, hold it like that. Straight down. And then you want to come off the belly, out of the belly, right in the middle, well, at least the middle as you can. Flip it around. So at this point, you're hooked up like this, right? So then you want to twist, before you go over the barb, twist the head of the fluke over and push it in just like that. Push it in deep to where you want it, right? And then this is where it gets a little tricky. This is where a lot of people get lost. Okay, make a mental picture of where it's supposed to be. So hook is supposed to be about right there, right? Well, put your little finger on it, right where the hook's supposed to be. Go underneath and just right up where it was supposed to be, just like that. Make sure you go right through the middle. Yeah, so make sure you go right through the middle, just like that. And we pull it up. There you go. See? Simple as that. That's how you rig it with a jig head. It's that simple. Don't make it harder than that, because you ain't going to get it. So that way, everything is lined up. The hook sits right in the belly of the fish. And bam, done, right? So the Gamatsus, I think they do come in colored heads as well. This used to be our favorite head until we started pulling up some big fish. And at times, as you can see, the gap right here, this gap is not far enough to properly hook onto the mouth, the top side of the mouth of a fish. You know? So since then, we've upgraded. We've gone to the Strike King. These are the Squadron swim bait jig heads. And this is just rigged on another fluke. And as you can see, if you want to do a comparison, now these are more expensive. It's I think it's 3 for $4 instead of 5 for $3. As you can see, both of these are the same weight on the jig heads. If you look at the hook sizes, it's a big difference. Okay, it's a big difference, and it looks a little different too. Okay, there you go. And usually when I'm fishing rocky areas where I know I might get hung up, I don't want to risk losing a really expensive jig head, so I'd go with a cheaper one. But if I'm fishing open water, real deep water, I always go with that one, just because I know I'm going after big fish. And I hate it when you just don't get a good hookup. Like the other day, I was fishing and all day I didn't get a bite, but I knew the fish were there, and I waited till right after the sun went down. You can still see, but the sun's going down. I got a real strong hit on a hybrid fish. Must have been a big hybrid, and it just kept on pulling. And this guy it didn't hook up right. I guess it's because it didn't get a deep enough or a strong enough point where if I was using this jig head, much more confidence in it, it would definitely would have came in. But that's just one way to rig it up, okay? And that's the most popular way to rig these guys up. But if you really look at the design of the Flukes, it really wasn't really meant to have a hook buried on the inside like this, at least in my opinion. It was meant to be rigged with a worm hook like this. And this is the weedless setup. As I just mentioned, this is not weedless because if I'm fishing, it might get hung up, right? This is a weedless setup. And the way you do that, undo this. This is pretty easy too. Take your favorite fluke, didn't matter, this size or this size. No, actually, this wrong size. That size or that size. Okay, two different sizes. Doesn't matter. The way you hook this is you just buy yourself the appropriate hook. So you can always grab a pack of Flukes and make sure you measure this out while you're still at the store, and make sure the eye of the hook starts at the end, the one end of the fish, and the hook itself. This is a mustad hook. I forgot what kind of size this was, but make sure this wraps right around the belly, just like right here, just like that. Okay, just like that, and just make sure it's not too far up like this or right here. Make sure it kind of holds the entire belly like that. Okay, so the advantage of this is it is weedless, and the way you wire this up or hook this up is you go right down until you lose. Let me see. Okay, so the way you do this is you basically go, you want to go right down the middle. Okay, that's the difference between this setup and the other setup. Right down the middle, and you kind of keep in mind about the how far you have to go until you do the bend. So for this hook, it's almost like to the barb or right before the barb. Go right down, right through the middle, barb. Take an immediate 90, come out the side. So it's gonna look like that, right? Okay, so go down, slide it all the way through. And I usually have the line tied on by now, so line's on, and then slip it inside, so the hook is inside the head. Right, hook is inside the head, and then now you know exactly where this guy is supposed to pop out of, right here, right? So right there, put your fingernail on it, and bam, just wired up right there. Not wired up, just poke it in. No, straight up there. Do it again. Bam, right there, right through the top, and that's it. And that's how I usually get my Flukes, just like that. The whole point of this is after you do this, the fish should still be able to move a little bit. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. Then they'll say like this section right here needs to be super stiff, but I kind of disagree with that, because if you do that, then when you're twitching this through the water, it's not moving like a real fish anymore. It kind of goes straight. But I'll discuss that in a little bit, the difference between the two. So this is how I usually do my Flukes, and it is weedless. Like you can't even feel it. There you go. See, it's completely weedless. And I usually don't use this a lot because I usually fish the open water. So this is another technique that I usually do. And I usually don't do this one very often because this one destroys the lure. Every time you get a big fish hit, this lure is pretty much done. Because what will happen is the fish will chomp down on it like this. It'll get hooked. This will slide out like this. And it'll slide back up onto the line. Which in some cases is a good thing, in some cases is a bad thing, because the chances of a fish getting off is a lot less if you actually do that. But it'll destroy this, and you have to put another Fluke on, and it's no big deal. It's pretty cheap, but it's like a disposable lure at that time. It's not very reusable, alright? So that's one of the downsides. It does swim a lot better. This one swims better than this one. But what I mean by that is when you're throwing this out and you're like kind of just, you know, jerking it in, jigging it in, On this one, you fish it different. So this one's more of a jigging action. This is more of a twitching or jerking action, like you're suspending jerk baits. That's what you want to do with this one. Okay. And last but not least, this is the way I usually fish them in shallow water, smaller fishes, anything like that. And this is a technology, I guess, that I first heard of. It actually came from the Banjo Minnow, and the way it's rigged, and a lot of people don't do this, and I don't know why, is when you do this, you take the hook outside of the fish. No, it's in front of the fish, and then you put like a corkscrew. It's called a corkscrew, and this is homemade, by the way, where you can actually use the actual Banjo minnow fishing system, and you can see it. The hook's there. It's basically just like a octopus or a circle style hook, and then you got the corkscrew that's attached to the anchor point or the bottom of the hook, and then it just corkscrews right into the fish. Now, major differences between these is this one has the least amount of movement, all right? Because you're not fishing with a swimming tail or the round tail, and by the way, Flukes come in that arrangement as well. So when you're twitching these, this one has the least amount of movement, but this one can dive the deepest. This one is weedless, okay? So that has its own type of advantages. But if you're talking about swim, when you're jerking this thing in and you're trying to like jerk bait this in, this lure has the most, by far, action on it. It'll go sideways, like it'll do this, and I'll flash that in. I don't mind. We got some video of a sluggo that was rigged exactly like this, and the action on it is really, really nice. Drives, stripers, and hybrids, and all that other stuff. Crazy. This one will do it too, but this one's just not as good. The reason for that is, if you look at this one's completely like backboneless. This one's got a backbone. See, it doesn't even want to wobble as much because it's got a hook in it compared to this one. This one's completely wobbling, and forget about this one. This one don't wobble like at all. Okay, so those are the three ways that we 24/7 and out of work we like to rig up our flukes. I know a lot of people do a double fluke, and to do a double fluke, usually what you do is actually, I'll do another video on that later because I have my own way of tying double flukes and I have my own theories about that. And this was the squadron head that I used during the Sooner Lake. And the whole reason for the squadron head is, one, the hook is a lot better. Two, it's got double barbs to retain your fluke. And that's a big deal for me sometimes, especially when the flukes are... especially when doing really aggressive casting. The flukes really need to stick, and they need to stick and stay on the jig head, because I've used other cheap jig heads before where when you throw them, this will actually slide off. So the lure will actually slide off, and you just never really like that, and it just kind of ticks you off sometimes because you can't have that during a middle of a fish fiasco. A lot of the local Asians, they love this color, and this color is usually fished right in the morning times and during the at the dam events. And what a lot of those guys usually do is they'll just outfit it just with a standard hook or standard jig head, just like that, and they'll tie it onto a bobber and they'll cast it out as far as they can, and they'll wiggle their rod tips, and as it comes in, it'll hit. But that's pretty much the fluke review. Prices and colors, and why we bought this over the competition. The flukes, like I said, at first I never liked them. I mean, I've always fished flukes like this, and you can never cast them out really far when they're like this. Even on 6-pound line, you probably cast them out, I'd say 30 yards max, and they're not going to go anywhere. They are fished about 0 to, because you can skip this on the surface. You can swim it 4 or 5 inches below the surface, or if you go to a really, really slow jerking action, you can fish it about 4 to 5 feet below the surface. But this thing just does not sink, and this is what I'm really used to. This is what I fished for bass, pickerel, crappie. Crappie's deadly on this. This setup right here especially is really deadly because the way the way, okay, so I'm gonna go into like the actions now, because the way you jig this, when it comes in, it's like it'll do this type of action. It'll do a aggressive like movement as it's coming, and it's not like it's coming like this, or it's not like the movement of the fish is doing this as it's coming in. What it does is it'll go like this, and it'll stop. It'll pause. And it'll start to sink because the hook is on there. So it'll start to sink, and it'll go move like that, starts to sink, and you twitch it up again. It comes right up, and it'll go like that. And right when you're twitching it, and no joke, these guys they bend just like this in the water. They'll do this, they'll do that, they'll do all types of action. And right when they stop and start to fall, that's when the fish is going to hit it. And that's how I was so successful fishing crappie in my last 5-6 years. Crappie, bass, lily pad areas, pickerels up north. I mean, you name it, this thing will hit it. Once we came down south, there wasn't a lot of vegetation. There was a lot of just dam fishing, a lot of deep water action. So we started fishing this guy like this, because you got to cast far and you got to let it drift with the water. Now this will not drift in current. It'll just basically ride on the surface. So that guy is not good, no can do. Now this is the way to go if you're going to fish current, and you have to pick the right jig head and things like that, so you want to bounce it off the rocks on the bottom without getting hung up. Okay, that's the main thing. And one other thing that I've kind of engineered just recently was if you've paid attention to the differences in lures and things like that, a lot of the crankbaits will have rattles, but these guys don't have anything on them. It's all sight, and fish will have to bite it. But then I came up with this idea. Since I don't know if you guys have already noticed it, but right here, right in here, what is that? No, it's not an anus, not a butt. It's actually a rattle. Yeah, it's like a YouTube first. Basically, I put a rattle in there. You can stick it back in through the butt area. It's in the tail. It's still fairly wobbleable, and it gives it a, hear that? A click every time you jig it. Okay, I'm thinking this is going to be pretty deadly. Now, I haven't tried it yet, but you guys are welcome to try it and report back on how it does. But yeah, that's my favorite setup. This is actually the Sooner Lake setup right here. For all the guys that are wondering what we were using. At Sooner Lake Discharge, you have to have the lure sink fast. If it doesn't sink fast, it just doesn't seem like fish want to hit it. So what it is a this is the 1/2 ounce jig head. This is the Squadron jig head from Strike King. And like I said, for this one with the double barbs, you just want to go right down the middle. So turn it around, right down the middle, right through the belly, turn it around, flip it around the other way, push it in as far as it'll go, pinch where you want it to go, right up through the top. Bam, just like that. That's how you rig it right there. That's how I had so much success at Sooner Lake. And this is the exact rig. I wasn't fishing the white one. Well, I was on and off, and then right when it goes dark, you fish the white one because you needed more light. But this is the setup that I like right here. This is my setup that I really like for bait fish. Gray head, gray body, just like that. Okay, the fish are looking at it from the bottom. Looks like that. From the side, it still looks pretty convincing because it's got the big old eyes, big head. From the top, it looks pretty good too. Alright, so that's the Fluke. We have so much fish that we've caught on Flukes. There's just so much data. I mean, even before 24/7 Outdoor Addiction was started, before Out of Work was started, these are already really popular. Walmart sells them for $3.50 a pack, and sometimes you can't even they can even keep these in stock in the spring times. Skiatook Lake, the video I just threw up, I'll shoot up some links. We just, actually on that expedition, I was using this size right here. I was using this size, I think it's the 4-inch, and that's the 6-inch. That's a 5-inch. And yeah, it was just man, we were just tearing them up, man. People were just killing it out there, and these are just really really popular. In terms of how advanced of a fisherman you have to be to use them, I would say even though these don't have the swimming curly tails on them, so I think they do come in curly tail as well. And they have the swimming tail, which is just like a round piece out here. It's really easy to fish. I mean, for something like this, cast it out. It's really easy to teach somebody how to do it. Cast it out, depending on how deep the water is. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, and just start reeling and just doing this. And that's all you gotta do, and it'll hit. If once you get into the advanced world, I guess you can really look at the depths and look at the jigging style, because sometimes, some days you might just do a nice jigging action like this and it'll work. Some days you might need like that, like a double tap action, and they'll hit when you stop. Boom, you'll hit right there. Boom, hit. Boom, hit. Okay, so that's the Fluke. There's just so many different things here, and they've caught so many different types of fish. I've heard everything from stripers to bass, crappie, bluegill. Bluegill even hits this. Pickerel, pike up north, salmons hit them. It's just bait fish. That's basically exactly what it is. And what you want to do is just find the bait fish that's in your area and go after it with this. Like I said, you have to kind of be careful what you want to do. Pick between the three. Between these three that you want to see rigged up, right? You just kind of hold them like that. So these are the three that are rigged up. Oh, let's get some fuzz here. Okay, if you're in the shallower water, definitely these two right here. If you're fishing in the weeds, go with this one. If you're fishing open water next to weeds, right there. Deep water, right there. So that's the reason why Flukes are so versatile. They can be fished at all water depths. And it's just a simple matter of like changing jig heads, changing hooks. And that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of the lures can't really compete with this. Because one, it's cheap to rig up. I mean, even if you go with a pack of squadron heads and a pack of Flukes, you're still under $10, and you can fish all day. And even if you lose one of these, you don't feel as bad compared to, say, buying a Rapala, like some type of a fancy Rapala jerkbait, and you go out and the big fish pulls, and you just happen to have something wrong with your line that day, and that fish breaks it, and you're just like, damn, I'm down $10. This is more like every single one's only worth about $2, if that. So that's one of the other reasons why it's really, really good. And that's one of the other reasons why it's very, very popular. It's a cheap lure that works very, very well. And in the world of fishing, if you're not casting super, super far, this is a winning combination. It's just going to work for you. There's so many colors available. So many different sizes. Well, I don't know if you caught this, but these two, even though they're the same length, there's a different body profile. This one doesn't have the belly on it. This one does. Actually, it's a bad example. Let me get a brand new one so you guys can see. Here you go. Here you go. Alright, so, see that? There you go. One has a belly and one's more streamlined. Okay, and the reason why you want the streamlined one is this one will twitch through the water a lot better. So this one's more designed for the jig heads, and that's why this one is rigged with this for the core. We call this the swim rig, and everything else is just jig heads or weedless jigs or Carolinas or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, okay, there you go. Shallow water doesn't matter. Deep water doesn't matter. It's gonna catch them. The right size. The white is pretty cool just because of the fact that, especially when you rig it like this one, when you're twitching it in, jerking it in, and you can see this thing kind of swimming through the dark water, and you can see the white. It's just twitching, and you're watching this lure, and all of a sudden the white disappears, and your line, and usually you have slack line most of the time when you're fishing this, the line just runs. and that's when you know you got a fish on the line. All these other ones, it's all sight. Lines are always tight the whole time, and you play it by sight, play it by feel. You're jigging, thump, takes off. That's how the flukes work. If you're fishing it off of a dam, a lot of the guys fish it with the bobber. I don't have a bobber here, so I can't really demo it for you, but the way it works is you have a surf rod, 2-3 ounce bobber, whatever size you have available to you. And okay, let's just pretend this sock is my bobber, right? Say that's the bobber. What these guys will do is they'll go out and they'll take this and they'll tie it to the line to the top of the bobber, and they'll tie it to the front of your jig head, and then they'll put it in like this. And be careful where the barb's at, okay? Because you don't want the barb to go in too deep. So what they do is, like they'll plug it in on. This is a foam bobber, by the way, just enough, just like that. You don't want the barb to go through, so just enough so it hangs. And they'll flip them out, and when it goes, there's enough weight on the fluke to actually unhook from the bobber, and they both land in the water like that. And that way you're swinging. It seems like you're swinging one weight instead of 2 weights, so the jig and the bobber don't kind of fight each other as it's in the air, and you can cast out really far. We'll shoot in some footage of that too, and I'll shoot up a video to the Keystone video. But yeah, that's the fluke. I mean, like, it is the most versatile lure you can have, the most versatile plastic lure. And I didn't even get into the wacky rig. You can even wacky rig these guys if you want. If you want to wacky rig them, you just hook them right here. If you just hook them on one side, don't hook them on two, just one side. Hook them, throw them out, and it'll wacky rig for you. I've seen people do that, and it has also worked. I've seen people Slinko rig these as well, where it just sits like this, and it'll twitch, and it'll twitch, and it'll twitch. It'll act like a little fish that's feeding off the bottom, and that works really well as well. So these things are super versatile, and that's the review for the flukes. I mean, what else can I say? I think I covered everything. Covered a lot of species, where to buy them. Oh yeah, where to buy them. Every store carries these. Walmart's, Dick's Sporting Goods, Academy Sports and Outdoors. You buy them from Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's. Everybody carries these. Everybody always carries this size. Not everybody carries this one. This was kind of a rare one. The one that's got the slim body. That's a little rare to get. These are the easiest ones to get. This one, this size, and this size. It seems like it's the 4 and the 5 inch. Easiest ones to get. The super flukes are, I believe, the 8 inches. Those are a little harder to find. But yeah, $3.50. I think sometimes you might even get them for $2.97 at Walmart if they're on sale. And yeah, it's in every one of our backpacks everywhere we go. It's because you just never know when it's going to be a fluke day. Fish are always bipolar. One day they'll bite one color, one day they'll bite something else. Maybe one day it's crankbait, maybe one day it's soft plastics, maybe one day it's top water. So you bring everything. And we went to Sooner Lake. We didn't think flukes were going to hit, but luckily, as soon as we got there, Veman had a setup very similar to this, and so did I. I have a setup almost identical to this, but I had a Sluggo on, and the Sluggo actually, it's right here, in this box right here, Sluggo. It bit, and a striper pulled it or something, and I lost that one. And as soon as that one was gone, I put this guy on, because I knew they were there, and it was off the hook. Check out that video, guys. This is the review of the fluke. See ya. Alright, so I just told you guys that I had a whole bunch of flukes, but Hybrid Killer just showed up, and he got even more flukes, more colors. He's even got the one I was telling you guys about. This is the one with the swimming tail on it, and I don't even know what this color is. And then he's got this color as well, the disco green. It's kind of like just a green flakes, green black flakes with a it's almost like a milky watered down color body. And this is like a small size. And he also brought me this one, which is a silver rainbow is what they call it. If you look at it really close, it's basically like a milk color with small white flakes in it. And he also brought me the Super Fluke. This guy is no joke, freaking huge. Let's see, this guy measures 7 inches long on my Leatherman Super Tool 300. 7 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. So that's a 7, Super Fluke 7. The regular, I call it regular, is 5. And then the normal Flukes are... Well, no, actually I got all those wrong. You got the Super Fluke. Yeah, the Super Fluke is actually this size. This is the Fluke. And this is the Magnum Fluke. Okay, so you got the regular Flukes, which is the 4-inch. You got the Super Fluke, which is the 6-inch. No, 5-inch. And then you got the Magnum Fluke, which is the 7-inch. Courtesy of Hybrid Killer. That guy goes crazy over Flukes. All these different colors. Oh yeah, it was the watermelon one. They even come in watermelon. Oh, here it is. The watermelon pack. Ta-da! Watermelon for all you bass people out there that love watermelon. There it is. This is the Striper Mayhem here at Keystone. Yep, there's the Flukes. Millions and millions of possibilities. And it is going. Oh my god, it hit